There is no truth until you decide what truth is, and each person should find that truth out for his or herself.
Is it fun? Yeah, it is. And I'm killing it. And it's so competitive.
All right. All right, greetings everyone. You should be able to hear me okay. Give me one moment here. Okay, so first and foremost, let's do a sound check here. Can everyone hear me okay? Reading on quite a few platforms, so verify that you all can hear me before we get started. Greetings, everyone. Okay, excellent. All right, so I'm coming through loud and clear. Excellent. So we are streaming on quite a few platforms, so whatever platform you're on, shout out to you. And so today's going to be an interesting class. We can call this the part two of the remote viewing class that was done some years ago. Also, many of you came to Atlanta for the psychic ability training that we did a few years ago as well. Shout out to you. And so this could be an add-on to that as well. So, give me a moment here. We're going to take our time today. We're going to make sure that we are well informed. All right. And so, those of you, many of you receive the information to join in today from many different platforms, but those that actually paid for today's course, you did receive some information through email, and you're going to receive more information after the class. Okay, so of course, because of course you did pay for a ticket, you will uh, be able to call me up and we go into details, and you'll be invited to go through very specific training if you want to enhance your remote viewing ability. All right. All right, just bear with me here one moment. All right, so you all should see on the screen here. So we're going to get straight into it. We are going to be going through again some information at a relaxed pace. When we get through this information, then we're actually going to be utilizing our abilities. I'm going to have some what they call them reference numbers for you all to go through and try to, of course, uh, bring about what you may be viewing remotely. Okay, so without further ado, let's just get straight into it here. All right. So first, we're going to give a tip here. Absorb today's material by being present in that. Okay. Especially if you signed up for it, there are replays afterwards. So again, we're even streaming right now on the Meta Center website. So if you signed up for it, which you had to, you had to register for the course to be on most of these platforms. Afterward, you'll be able to view it again. Okay. And if you want to take notes at that time, you're welcome to. But I highly suggest, since we are live, that you fully absorb by paying attention to what you're hearing. Don't worry about if you may miss something. It's okay. All right. So before we get into what this course is in detail, the Meta Center has been doing quite a bit over the last few years, some over the last 10 years to be exact. And of course, Dr. Dilla Blair, which I'm sure everyone knows who he is, he left a very strong foundation that deals with some very specific avenues of thought, right? Of course, metaphysics, history, and engineering. Okay. So from that point on, from the time that he passed, we've been going really deep now into metaphysics, but that can get into areas that a lot of people are not comfortable with, right? So we not only went deep into metaphysics, but we also went deep specifically into science, technology, engineering, and math. Because again, Dr. DeWitt Blair was an engineer. I'm specifically also a STEM professional myself, right? And so we've been doing all types of things, going deep into different areas. For example, like the OmniMind that you see here. The OmniMind, what it did, and shout out to those who were part of this. This went on for about a year and a half, almost 2 years. Uh, it increased your focus state. It helped people manifest because manifestation is an aspect of reality that is literally real and it can be captured and enhanced, right? And so, shout out to those who are part of that. Uh, so, focus, relaxation, increasing intelligence, increasing fluidity of speech. Okay, there's all different other avenues that we were working on, uh, and it was a very interesting uh, project. Okay, some projects that we do are long term, some projects that we do are short term, right? So this would be also psychic abilities. Psychic abilities are real. Okay, you are a human. If you are a human born here, you do have latent abilities that are not evil. Okay, they're not any of that. These are just what you're born with, right? And just like some people may be naturally talented in art. Some people may be naturally talented in music, right? Well, also humans have abilities. Some people are stronger than others in the various abilities that we may call sixth senses and so forth. One of the projects or classes that is going on currently is the behavior analysis class. Shout out to the behavior students. Every other Thursday, you have to be a member to be a part of that. But every other Thursday, we get deep into behavior. It does have homework and everything else. This is a curriculum-based class, and so students are going deep into all like social analysis, behavior analysis, predicting outcomes by behavior, and so on and so forth. Of course, some of you have been around for quite some time, and so about 4.5, 5 years ago, we actually sent something into space. And when people say that they don't really understand I would say the deepness of that. All right, we actually created devices that we sent into the stratosphere above us, and that's called Project Etheric. And so, for example, here is footage from Project Etheric right here. One moment here. Just for you, some of you who may be viewing this for the first time, many of you did donate to this project and so forth. And so this is actively, it had 3 4K cameras on it. That's me right there. Letting it go, launching into the air. And so, let's see here. So as you see, it's going up into the air now. I'm going to fast forward just so you all can get a glimpse of what ended up happening. So it went way up in the sky, as you see there, way up in the sky, up in the sky. Okay, right there. You see it is above the earth there, as you see. It did end up going much higher than this, but for certain reasons, we had to not include about 5 or so minutes of footage. But it is up in the upper stratosphere up there. Planes fly at about 30,000 feet. Okay, this was well over 84,000 feet above us. Okay, as you see there, it ended up busing eventually, and it landed in a cornfield in close to Indianapolis. Right, so it had GPSs on it and everything. So I literally had to the next day drive almost hour and 45 minutes away from our launch site to go to pick it up in the middle of a cornfield. So this was a real project. And shout out to all of you all who have been part of this again. Why are we doing these projects? To learn. Some people, I don't know, in these times have a thing with learning in certain ways, but we challenge ourselves. Some of us wonder about some things, right? We wonder like, is what up there is real or what it may be? And so we say, oh, well, let's figure it out. Figure it out. The next one is Project Whirlwind. Project Whirlwind is deep sea research into Lake Michigan. We actually are scuba diving into the lake, right? So that's an ongoing project there as well. We actually took a vessel out into the middle of the lake. Only government and huge commercial miners are pretty much allowed out there. We were allowed, right? So that happened a few years ago as well. Currently, we have a ham radio class going on. Many people are here going to be acquiring their government license to be able to use high-end transmitting equipment, which is excellent, like in a grid down scenario. Here is the MetaNode. Students here made these. Let me show you here on camera. I'm show you right here on camera. Here's one here. We also have smaller ones as well. They are available on the website. And these allow communication in a grid down scenario. Like here's one of the ones that I built here. This one here is a pretty high-end one. Not only am I able to communicate just like the one you see on the screen, but this one has solar panels built in. It has batteries as well. All right. This one can also have a GPS internally. Also has the ability to monitor humidity, temperature, airspeed, all kind of stuff. Right. So this is our personal one. This is available if you want me to build one for you, but this is my personal one here. But students put some of these together right here at the Meta Center. And this project didn't cost you anything. Most of these projects don't cost you, who are listening here, anything at all. You just have to be consistent and consistent. That's it. The last project here before we get into today's class is the farming project. And this project is underway right now. And so, one moment here. All right, so right now what's underway is the farming project. Okay, and the farming project, we are this is a long-term project. Many of us have food-related concerns, and this project here, the first harvest, will be available for members toward the end of June. Okay, that's when we expect the first harvest to be available, and this project came about to tackle two very specific challenges, right? It's not just about growing food. All of us can grow food. All of us should grow food. I don't care if it's a little pot of basil on your windowsill. That's fantastic, right? But that's not our purpose in this particular long-term project. Our purpose is number one, to grow the most nutrient-dense species of fruits and vegetables. Okay, that's number one. Right. So let's say if we're talking about mustard greens, okay, well, what species of mustard greens and subspecies, let's say, is the most nutritious? And we found these things out, right? So that's number one. Number two, through our own methods that we have developed over the years, because we did do a hydroponic project maybe about 3.5 years ago. And so from that point to now, we've been developing things behind the scenes. And so we created a nutrient-dense solution that can enhance the nutritional value of any food or vegetable. So not only one, again, to grow the most naturally heirloom, which is original genetics, fruits and vegetables available, but two, enhance the nutritional content so we can feed ourselves and our family and friends with the most nutrient-dense fruits and vegetables that are literally available, you could say, in the world. All right, and this is what you're supporting when you support the Meta Center. It's literally underway now, right? So if you are a member who is local, at the end of June, the first harvest, you will have the ability to come and purchase the fruits and vegetables that are available at that time. If you are a member who is not in Illinois, we are working on logistics to be able to ship these fruits and vegetables to you. So this is a project that's underway now. Shout out to those who have been consistent and who have been, keeping their mind stable in a time where it's very easy to not be that way. Okay. So, all right. All right. So, can some people are saying they're having a little bit of hard time hearing me? Are you okay and hear me right now? Can you, just to make sure. Again, don't worry about it. Just try to listen the best you can, whatever platform you're on. Again, if you register for this course, you will see it afterward as well. But hopefully it does clear up. So I'm just going to continue on here because we know every time we put out a powerful production, we already know this, right? Anytime we put out a very powerful production, sometimes it tends to be interesting, right? And so we just got to work through it. All right. So, all right. So let's first talk about now. Let's get into the remote viewing here, and first we're going to be talking about safety. All right. So here's a tip number one: do not lie to yourself about who you are or what you are. Now, there's reasons for this. I would say most people I come in contact with lie to themselves in some way, and I'm not saying that I am innocent of that. Especially when I was younger. Um, we all are in a world that is full of lies. How do we know? Because in almost every aspect of our society, it becomes taboo to speak the truth, right? We have politicians, for example, that would tell us one thing, and then immediately once they get elected, they do the complete opposite, right? And so we know that even when people go to their corporate job, for example, they even put on their voice. They change their voice, right? They change the way they speak. I'm not sure you're saying you should be acting like a buffoon, but they change many different aspects of themselves. And just about everyone else around you in this same environment is also doing the same. So no one in this environment, you're actually seeing the true self. So everyone is lying not only to themselves, but also to everyone else. And so the world is filled with that. If you're going to be able to project yourself, if you're going to be able to perceive what you need to perceive, especially when it comes to remote viewing, you want to make sure that you are true to yourself and true to the reality that is around us, okay? Because of seeing things as they are. Uh, so that if you have a mission to accomplish, you're not tainting what you're perceiving through your own ego, which we'll get into a little bit of that later. So here we get into the intro to viewing. All right. Okay, so here's a definition. Remote viewing equals structured, trainable skill for perceiving unseen targets across space and time. All right. It is not psychic or magic. It's attention plus training. There are people who are highly religious, who are expert remote viewers. There are people who do not believe there's any kind of ESP at all. Humans do not have the ability to do anything other than third dimensional things. That's it, nothing more. And even there are many who are like that who have been expert level remote viewers. Okay, so this is not psychic ability. This is not magic. Now, those who do have a bit of enhanced ESP are able to sometimes to perceive things in ways that are most definitely beneficial, but that's not needed. Everyone can do it, some better than others, like a musical ability. You don't see the target, you perceive it with the part of you that doesn't need eyes. Okay, remember this. You're not seeing the target. This is not dealing with imagination. You don't want imagination. All right, you're perceiving it, and you don't need eyes to do that. Exercise number one. All right. Everyone here who is listening to me, close your eyes. All right, close your eyes and picture your childhood kitchen. What do you smell? What do you see? Is it anything that you feel? Okay. That is utilizing perception, not necessarily memory. Okay. Let's continue on. You go open your eyes now. The structure behind the skill. Remote viewing is not a free form psychic act. It is structured perception. uses protocols designed to quiet the noise and enhance intuition. There are two main styles. There's structured remote viewing, which is SRV or CRV. It's alert, focus, paper based. And then there's extended remote viewing, that's ERV. That's a more meditative free form. Okay, so for example, and many of the meditations that we have done here at the center is where I, of course, mentioned to you all, many of you all been listening for years, where I say how to meditate, right? Yes, there's all type of advanced breath work. There's all type of advanced meditations that one would do for specific reasons. But for the most part, that's not needed. Just rhythmic breathing. That is it, right? And when you're in this rhythmic breathing state, you are putting yourself kind of in a way in a receive mode, and you can naturally, in this free form way, receive uh, imagery, uh, even through sight, smell, touch, so on and so forth, of what is taking place around us. There's nothing around us that is truly hidden. Nothing. There are those who try to hide things by going, miles deep within the earth. All right, some of those are domes, deep underground military bases, for example. But there are other things going on beneath the earth that are not military bases. So some things try to hide down deep like that, or hide above us, or behind layers of wall to try to stop viewers from seeing what they are up to. But nothing here is hidden. The importance of remaining blind. Okay, the viewer must not know the nature of the target beforehand. This prevents imagination bias from tainting impressions. And most people I've come across have bias. Okay, bias sometimes not necessarily a bad thing. It just depends. But most people I've come across have bias in a way that could be considered more negative because it's tainting the reality that is around. All targets are assigned a reference number. For example, like 5938492. This is not magical. It's just a pointer to the actual target data stored elsewhere. And we're going to get deeper into that because when we actually do some remote viewing training here, you're going to get some reference numbers. Okay, so. And I didn't say it in the beginning of this course. Please have some type of writing instrument and paper handy so you can write down some things because you're going to need it. All right, so the ideogram, shaking hands with the target. So what happens is that you write down the reference number and immediately draw a quick spontaneous squiggle. This is called an ideogram. It's a nervous system reaction to the target. Think of it like your brain downloading a zip file. It has an unpacking. All right. So, for example, later in this instruction, for example, I just have to give you a reference number, right? Write down a reference number. And it's better. It helps people to close their eyes until they get better at it, and then eventually you can do this with their eyes open. But close your eyes, reference number, and then you just start scribbling immediately what you're receiving. Okay. Tip: you describe, you do not name. Okay. You describe, you do not name. Some description examples: textures. Like if let's say if you see something is in let's say you're perceiving something that's in Arabia, right? You don't say, "Oh, I think we're in Arabia." No, 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 because it can distort the perceptions that are coming through, and you actually may just be completely wrong. So it's better to describe. Let's say, for example, I feel, I see the color yellow or orange. It feels gritty. It's moving, and so you could, of course, in that someone who knows the characteristics of sand, for example, say, okay, that's sand. All right, so now that puts you, yes, that's even sand regions in the United States, but based on your other descriptions or descriptors, there it could put us in a certain geographical area based on what we're trying to perceive or what the mission is. All right. So of course, again, material here, if you sign up, actually officially sign up for the course, you're going to get some material even after we end. So just be aware of that. Here's another tip. Write down end when complete. Create a formal disconnection. Sometimes when we are working on a mission, it's better to create the routine of like we are officially starting a start routine and an end routine to sever connections because sometimes when one thinks it's just a game kind of thing and they uh, pretty much go into receive mode and they don't end it to come out of receive mode. Okay, again, direct receive mode again, because this is actually a something that's trainable, something that uh, one can actually, again, military has actually used many of the principles that we're going to be speaking on today. So when one doesn't end it, you can go on still the rest of your day in receive mode, and it could lead to distractions that we don't want. So common challenges and pitfalls. Mental noise versus signal line. Hey, what is a signal line? It's a subtle, intuitive data streaming in from the subconscious. Okay, so the data that's streaming from the subconscious to the conscious mind, that is the signal line. What is mental noise? Anything from internal chatter to imagination to emotion based assumptions. Okay, that creates noise that can kind of distort the what you're perceiving. Your subconscious is the satellite dish. Mental noise is the static. If they get a flash of something clear, it's likely a signal. If they build a whole story, then there's noise because that's more than likely imagination. Okay. So if you have a very imaginative mind, ideally you'll want to do mental exercises, which those, if you're like that, you can talk to me afterward and I'll give you some examples specifically to you that could help you to control the mind. If some of you have the book One Lessons, it gets into a simple exercise that deals with guarding your mind from external chatter. Over trying and expectation. Wanting to be right leads to forceful guessing. Okay. Expecting a movie in the mind sets unrealistic standards. Encourage the Zen mindset. Observe, receive, and record. All right. Observe, receive, record. Tip. Trying too hard equals, in most cases, inaccurate perceptions. Being still, right, being in the now, leads to more times than not more so effective information. Okay. All right. The next one here is called front loading and contamination. If a viewer knows too much about the target, it takes the session. Now, again, those who've been doing it for a long time, those who work on biases and things of this nature, even if they come from outside fields, they are able to know within their own thoughts what is more than likely biased and what's not, and they could separate that. That comes with time, training, things of this nature, right? And it most definitely is possible because many people have come to the Meta Center and have done it. But for most people, it becomes a little difficult to do that. So it's better to, when we do missions, it's better to do missions that no one knows about. Maybe, let's for example, if I'm giving out permission, I may know details about it, some details. But of course, those who are the viewers or seers in this case, they are uh, I'm not going to taint them with the information. I just give maybe certain, uh, just very small details that will allow them to create the signal to bring about the information needed. Even subtle cues from a tasker, it is a location you might know, can derail the viewer's neutrality. The viewer must be as blind as possible to maintain purity of the signal. Okay, you want the signal to be as pure as possible. If there are any questions and comments as I go through this, if you're here at the center, we do have people here at the center. Write them down, and once we open it up at the end for any questions and answers or concerns, you can let me know. Also, if you are listening here from elsewhere, type it in the chat room, and once we get to the Q&A, I will find those questions and concerns to maybe hopefully give you an answer to. The first timer effect and its opposite. Many experience a beginner's luck session. Exit results first. This can cause overconfidence, and subsequent sessions often crash because the viewer starts trying to recreate success, not the flow state naturally. The flip side, others feel totally lost on the first try and wrongly assume I can't do this. First sessions are like gym workouts. The skill builds with repetition, not one lucky rep. Okay, so again, this is all trainable. People, there's not too many people, I would say, who could not do this, except one who may have very strong mental challenges. Okay, so the person has a very strong mental issue, challenge going on. I would suggest that they work on that before they do this. But other than those people, um, I don't see really any difficulty for most. Now, again, like anything else, some people may be better at it than others, but most could perceive something. Okay. Emotional interference. High emotional states, fear, doubt, ego, inflation, distort perception. Strong emotions is a distortion magnet. Meditative practices, breathing, or even a ritual like clearing a slate before viewing will help to make sure that emotions do not taint your perception. So your checklist. Now remember everyone, my suggestion to you is to be here in the you signed up, you registered for this. This will be a big review afterward. Did I analyze or did I describe? This is your personal checklist. Was I spontaneous or did I force it? Did I try to name the target? Again, you want to use descriptors. You don't want to name. Did I record everything, even the weird stuff? Even if you are perceiving weird, supposedly weird stuff or things that may be distractive to your own personal rule set that you have for your life, you still jot it down anyway. Okay. Did I rush through or did I pace myself evenly? Unless the mission is time based, where you do have to move quickly, you want to ideally pace yourself. Let's talk about the realms. Okay. Tip. In the void, sometimes things look back, which can trick you by appealing to the lies we tell ourselves. Okay. So in the void, sometimes things look back, which can trick you by appealing to the lies we tell ourselves. And this leads to uh, being tainted personally, right? It's like you create a signal, something travels back to you. Okay. That is something that one should be conscious of, especially if one is too invested in what's taking place. So we're going to get into the realms here, right? So this gets more into the metaphysical aspect of remote viewing, even though remote viewing does not have to have these aspects to it. But I found in in our trainings, this helps, okay? Because we are not just vessels in the third dimension per se, right? This is 3D. That's all it is, nothing more. History says otherwise, and we can look at cultures all around the world, and cultures have uh, belief systems. They have historical foundations that tend to go into the metaphysical things that are not just 3D based. Okay, so what are the realms? The first realm, let's say, is the third dimension, right? So this is what you can see, hear, touch, uh, see, hear, touch, smell, and taste. Okay, that is it, nothing more. That's all to existence, right? So that's the third dimension. Then we have the physical level two, which is beneath the earth and above the earth. When I say beneath, I'm just talking about foot beneath. I'm talking about miles beneath what dwells down there, because there are things that dwell down there for sure. We got into, many of you did enjoy on the YouTube series where we went into the antediluvian world. We even tapped into Hindu mythology and talked about Patala, Mahatala, and Ahatala, and so on and so forth. And these are realms that are beneath us, they have cities and everything else that are going on, and there are historical reference points, like some of the Germanic people who talked about the deals that they made with subterranean rulers to be the rulers here on the surface, right? So that's physical. That those are not just like spiritual realm where if you were to go there physically, you don't see anything. Oh no, you will see things. Okay, so that's physical level two. Then there's the realm of the mind. What is the realm of the mind? It's where all of our minds dwell in. Space, kind of etheric space where geniuses, their minds are there. Those who are completely mentally, uh, let's say, insane, literally, okay, their minds are there. Everyone's minds are there, right? Which creates confusion. And for the most part, I would say most psychics' minds are there, right? And so they are perceiving things that may be true, but many of them are also perceiving things that are not true because it's in a space that is highly erratic. Then let's say this the pure kind of spiritual realm, those things that are beyond the five senses truly, okay, uh, and have to be perceived a certain way. Then beyond that is what's the void. These are like the where entities and structures of reality dwell at. And then beyond that is to be great, what I call the great beyond. This is where literally creation itself dwells, right? And all these can be remote viewed and have one strong enough and everything else. In some cases, you don't even want to, right? Because even with the curiosity uh, brings one to do things, but if the mind is not strong enough, it can cause problems. Let's get into some vocabulary. Uh, Again, many of you who officially registered for the class, who actually paid for the class, you actually got an email that I sent out yesterday evening. So you should most definitely check your email. So let's get into it. So let's talk about the term target. The definition of that is the object, place, event being perceived. An example of this: a sealed envelope with an image inside. Okay, an ideogram is the spontaneous pen stroke link to the target. An example: a quick squiggle after seeing the reference number. Okay? The reference number is arbitrary code assigned to a target. So, for example, 8873912. A further example: there's a mission that needs to happen. There are many what I call psychers. That's what I call them personally, which is reference to many different things and sci-fi themes. But let's say again, anything in this reality is not what people think it is, and it's not my job to really tell you what it is. It's you for you to come to that on your own. But this reality is 100% not what 99.9% of people think it is. All right, and so because of that, everything here can be perceived. Everything, okay, future and past. And so with that, the mission may be, for example, to know what is going to take place or potentially take place in the future. For example, in those psychers. Are able to me giving them a task in a specific reference number. Now, the reference number may be something that only I know. It may lead to, it may be linked to evidence that I have that you don't know. The only thing you have is the reference number, and from that alone, you're perceiving what you're perceiving. You'd be surprised. A person can reference everything, not only the evidence that I have personally, but also jump past that and be able to perceive what is needed when it comes to all types of, again, anything around us. Okay, anything around us. So signal line, which we talked about, right, is an intuitive link between viewer and target, like a Wi-Fi string of impressions. Imagination, again, mental noise is the imagination, assumptions, and analysis. An example, it must be a pyramid because I drew a triangle. And it might not be. It could be the logo on a tank. You know what I'm saying? You just don't know. So that's why it's better to use descriptors versus trying to name it. All right. Feedback loop, reviewing the actual target to calibrate perception. An example, matching session data to the target image. Okay. Next here, cool down. Pre-session clearing to relax the mind. So again, this is like before you start, after you start kind of ritualistic behavior to end the session or to begin a session. So like, for example, it's like, okay, I'm about to start work, about to I'm about to use my abilities to perceive whatever the task is. And so you do a ritual set of things to put you into that state as you approach session. And then once you come back out, you end the session. Sometimes, again, you may even imagine that case and coming across your imagination screen, So these type of things help to keep us in and out of the state properly. Let me give you some case examples. Stargate project. So these are real life examples. That's from the 1970s to the 90s. The Stargate project was a classified U.S. Army and CIA joint effort to investigate and create operations of psychic phenomena, right? Specifically remote viewing as an intelligence gathering tool. The program was based out of Fort Meade, Maryland, and involved from earlier SRI experiments. Why it matters. This wasn't a fringe experiment. It ran for 17 years, and that's what we know of. But of course, it went even deeper uh, into those dark spaces, right? With millions in funding and was overseen by intelligence agencies. The key takeaway for students, if trained psychic perception was useless, why would the CIA fund it for nearly 2 decades and then from that point take it even deeper underground, classified? And of course, other uh, government and governmental intelligence agencies around the world also dived into this, specifically the Russians. Even a movie came about concerning this called The Men Who Stare at Goats. Some of you may have heard of that. The Men Who Stare at Goats. All right. Ingo Swann describes Jupiter's rings. Ingo Swann, the father of controlled remote viewing, CRV, was tasked with describing non-Earth based targets. One of his targets was Jupiter. He described rings around Jupiter at a time when scientists believed only Saturn had them. The outcome. In 1979, NASA's Pioneer 10 and Voyager missions confirmed Jupiter does have rings, just faint and hard to detect. The key takeaway. Remote viewing can reach beyond the Earth, beyond time, even beyond what science believes is real until it catches up. So again, remote viewers could see beyond space, time, right? Well into the past, far into the future. Many of you, for example, now peep this. Many people do this, they're just not doing it in a trained way. How many of you all have uh, perceived someone calling you, sometimes the exact person, and then literally a second later the call comes and it's that person? Or just perceive that the phone is about to ring and it rings. Perceive that maybe a family member or a friend is about to have a challenge. You call them up and they 100% have that challenge. You get what I'm saying? We naturally do this as humans. Only difference with remote viewing is that you're being trained to strengthen this so that it's controlled, right? So that you know it's not just, okay, you without further going too much deep into that, it's just more controlled, right? It's trainable so that this is not a one-off instance every once in a while. This can happen on a regular basis. Pat Prince in the Soviet bomber sketch, 1974. Pat Prince was a former police officer turned remote viewer. He was asked to view a hidden Soviet military site without knowing the target. He produced sketches of a large aircraft under construction in the surrounding area down to unique structures. The outcome, his data closely matched satellite reconnaissance. It confirmed the presence of a secret Soviet bomber prototype. CIA officials were reportedly stunned by his accuracy because a lot of these people, some people are literally 3D people, third dimensional people. Like literally, there's someone called soul spirit is not there. They just third dimension. Once they are born, once they leave, once they pass, they just pass. There's nothing before that, there's nothing afterward, and that's just okay. Uh, that goes into all type of philosophical thought of why and how and things of this nature. So those types of people in my line of work, those types of people seem to be the most flabbergasted by anything that questions third dimensional behavior. Okay. Key takeaway: sketching is not artistic, it's operational. The pen can become a surveillance satellite when the right mind holds it. Let's talk about Joe and the grill flame sessions. I'm not going to mess up this last name, but Joe, one of the most famous military viewers, was assigned to Operation Grill Flame in an early remote viewing initiative that involved into Stargate. So this involved into the Stargate project. He reportedly provided accurate intel on secret Soviet submarine bases, hostage locations, and even described a new class of submarine being built. His most notable session, he viewed a Chinese nuclear facility before it was publicly known and correctly identified a novel structure at the site. Intelligence analysts confirmed it years later via aerial recon. Okay. The key takeaway: remote viewing has been used in war rooms because when it works, it can bypass borders, time zones, and secrecy. Now, there are certain materials in the world that some of the most secret facilities to exist do deploy that can or try to block the remote viewer from viewing within it. Okay. Uh, there are also counter remote viewers that are out there viewing and trying to sabotage the remote viewers from seeing what you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like a war beyond space and time that is indeed taking place. For example, let me give you all something here, right? Cats. Cats are very interesting, right? Sometimes cats and other animals as well, but cats, because a lot of us have cats and are around them, or at least know what I'm going to say here. They will, everything could be completely cool, calm, and then all of a sudden they will look in a certain direction and react to like something being there, like if something's physically there. For example, if you were to remote view into a space, now there's something beyond remote viewing that advanced practitioners have gotten into, and that's also deals with projecting yourself there, literally. Okay, so once the signal is created, certain protocols and methodologies are put into place for one to physically, let's say, in the you can say near the etheric plane in a way, be there. And when that happens, especially a cat will react to that and look at that person, even though nothing's there, of course. So if the person who's in that space were to turn around, they will see nothing, but the cat sees that person, right? So same thing with some of you all. Some of you all are sensitive enough where you may be at home cooking or maybe at home to a home, whatever it may be, and you just feel like somebody's there, like someone else is with you. It could be someone remote viewing on your location. I mean, literally. It sounds so fanciful, but I'm showing you proof that these things, at least in the cases of remote viewing, perceiving people, places, and things, it is indeed possible. Let's get into some other types of use cases. Medical intuition and healing professionals. Trained remote viewers often develop heightened intuitive sensitivity, which can manifest as a gut sense of what's wrong in a patient, even without overt symptoms. An example: a nurse senses that a simple flu case is actually a brain tumor, requests an urgent scan, and is proven right. Over time, doctors, therapists, or energy healers begin to non locally assess subtle biofield data, picking up on emotional trauma, organ stress, or even unspoken concern. Key benefits: better diagnostic accuracy, deeper empathy, and more holistic awareness of a client's condition. I'm not going to go into too much of a tangent concerning this. One thing that we can look at the world around us, and if we were to break it down to a smaller digestible point that most of us can see easily, isn't it interesting that most of the laws, most of the rules being put on society, being put on humans, are very anti-human? They, in every way, are limiting the expression of humans. No, we don't want you all gathered. No, no parties. No, no get-togethers. No, no even expressing yourself. Stopping the human expression. Almost as if aliens run the world now or have to control. So, business and decision making. Remote viewing is increasingly used by entrepreneurs and executives to read the energy of deals before contracts are signed, perceive the underlying motivations of partners, predict market shifts using nonlinear subconscious pattern recognition. Many of you over the last few years, especially the lockdowns, became pattern recognition experts. An example: a CEO meditates before a key acquisition decision. Through logic says go, an internal impression warns of unseen complications. Later, legal issues emerge, validating the instinct. The key benefit: you are not just seeing data, you are feeling probabilities and subtle risk fields before they surface. Emergency awareness and on the fly remote viewing. On the fly remote viewing is the spontaneous perception of incoming events or unseen dangers without conscious effort. My throat's become a little dry, y'all, so bear with me here. This often this often manifests as hunches or vivid flashes in high stakes environments. An example: you are driving and suddenly feel that there's an accident up ahead. You slow down, and minutes later, a crash is visible around a bend. This same skill is used by law enforcement, security personnel, and parents when they instinctively know something's wrong. The key benefit: faster reaction time, life saving insight, a sense of being plugged into the hidden timeline. Because even think of our eyes, for example. Humans do not see or hear the amount of wavelengths that are actually around us. We're actually pretty limited. Uh, I'm not sure, of course, it has always been like that throughout all human time, but at least now it is. Finding lost items, pets, or people. One of the most approachable uses of remote viewing by mind and focusing on blind tasks. Where are my keys? Or where is my lost dog? Even beginners can receive fragments of visual or emotional data. An example: a woman sees a flash of green and hears barking in her mind. Following that cue, she finds her lost dog at a park near tall hedges. The key benefit: encourages real world practice and reinforces trust in subtle impressions. Relationship and emotional connection. Advanced remote viewing training naturally enhances empathetic sensing. People often describe being able to feel what someone else is experiencing from a distance. An example, you suddenly feel your partner's sadness out of nowhere, then receive a call minutes later. This is often mislabeled as coincidence, but trained remote viewers recognize it as a form of non local emotional perception. The key benefit: deeper connection, improved communication, and emotionally intelligent responses to loved ones or clients. Contact protocols and consciousness expansion. Remote viewing isn't limited to Earth. Through consciousness coherent protocols, trained individuals can make contact with non human intelligences or interdimensional life forms. Now, I don't suggest this whatsoever. Of course, we're in a time where everybody just wants to do things, and yet you see society going deeper into the dump because people keep trying to do things without having a strong human foundation first. We see humanity is things are getting weird. All right. So, uh, but still, I had to add this to let you all know what is possible. So, a CE5P Sedona, which is Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, okay, even the Sedona uses group meditation plus remote viewing techniques to initiate contact. Lights appear in the sky, and subtle energetic communication follows. The key benefits: enhances spiritual openness, confirms we are not alone, and helps anchor higher awareness in daily life. So now it's time to target. Okay, we're about to target now. So this is where some fun exercises begin. You all get your pen ready, pen and paper. Okay, pen and paper. I'm going to, what I suggest is that again, you scribble whatever comes to your mind, which you perceive immediately. Okay. So I'm going to give you a reference number. Again, once I give you this reference number, just write down immediately what you think. I'm going to ask you all in the chat room after that to tell me what that is. So here we go. The reference number is 430-9583. Reference number 430-9583. If needed, close your eyes and scribble what you believe is there. I'll give you a moment. Okay, that's it. Pause, stop, end the session. Okay. Write down in the, for those here at the center, you can let me know what you have. And when it comes to those who are listening from afar, type out in the chat room, whichever platform you're on, type out, let me know what you perceived. Okay. Again, use descriptors. Use descriptors. Even if you're confident in, even if you may end up being right in saying what something may be, I want you to learn to use descriptors. Okay. Do we have anyone here? Okay. Chuck says codes. Do we have any other? Do we have anything else from anyone else? Okay. I'm about to announce what the first, uh, actually, I'm going to do missions. We're going to continue on to the next one. And then we're going to circle back around. Okay. Here is the next reference number. Again, in most cases, you don't need to write down the reference number at all. Just hear the reference number and then scribble down what you perceive immediately. Don't think about it. Okay, just write down. Here we go. The next reference number is, ideally have your eyes closed. Okay, have your eyes closed, but go on a mission. The reference number that I need you to perceive is 5410694. Okay, reference number 5410694. I will give you a minute to scribble what you perceive. Okay, in the session, in the mission is over. What is it that you perceived? What is it that you perceive? If you're here at the center, you can write it down on your paper since we are in all different rooms and things. If you are far, type it out in the chat room. Okay. We're going to do is we have 3 more reference numbers to go. Okay. The next reference the next reference number is 6521705. 6521705. Scribble what you perceive. All right. All right. I'm going to end that mission. The next mission is reference number 763 2816. 763 2816. What do you perceive? Okay. All right. Again, this is putting you on the spot. There is very specific training. If you want to become better at this, there is very specific training. This is typically not done this way, just because people may have to work on their mental stability. They may have to work on fortifying their mind. They may have to work on now allowing emotions to affect them. There are things that everybody, let's say, has to work on, or a lot of people have to work on before we get to these kind of sessions. But of course, we are just doing the class here, so we just kind of give you an idea how these things work. The last projection here, or I should say, task that's about to be said to you to get ready here. Have your eyes closed. Here is the reference: 329-8472. 329-8472. What is it that you perceive? Okay, so now let's go over what each one was. Okay, so first for reference, four of the reference numbers were enclosed. It was something hidden here. So you see a dome here. Okay, so I do recall someone here saying dome, and so you may have been perceiving the dome. Okay, and of course it's like a clay-like color, tan brown. Okay, but something was enclosed in this. And so for reference number 4309583, it was the first one was remote. Okay, so the remote was enclosed in the dome. Okay. For the second one, again, all the 40s had same dome, okay, and something was enclosed in it. For the second one, it was an eraser. Okay, it was an eraser. For the third one, okay, let me go back here. The eraser one was reference number 5410694. 5410694. For reference number 6521705, which is the third. Okay. Again, it had the dome over it, and it was a battery, a green battery. So you'd be surprised, right, with descriptors. Like one person may say, I see, let's say green. They may say colors, things of nature, and again, they may describe it. They may say grass, right? Dark black soil, right? So even though they're perceiving it that way, me as a tasker, I know that this is green, which green light, which is could be grass, and it's black, which could be dark soil, right? And so again, just because it may not be exactly how we typically will align or attach thoughts to another thought or object to object via how we typically have lived in the world, it does not mean necessarily that it's incorrect, especially if multiple people who are on the same mission perceive very similar things. The fourth one, which is reference number 7632816. Again, this was also underneath the dome. And this one was an American flag. Okay, so it was an American flag. So if you say like maybe blue, white, red, anything kind of like that. at least tapping into something there. And the last one was actually a message in the bottle. I'm about to show you. I'm about to put it here on screen so you can see it. One moment. Okay, one moment here. I'm about to show you the message in the bottle here. So this was the reference number here for, again, the 329-8472. It was literally a message in the bottle. So let's say, for example, to show you how obscure this could actually be, someone may say glass, cork. They may say, it's a little yellow piece of paper in there. They may say yellow, and that's it. Someone may say paper. Now, especially if it's multiple people on a mission. So I did see a comment. Someone said something about a group. Let's say if it's multiple people in the mission, as the tasker, I'm recording the session now. Okay, so it could be reviewed, and I'm also notating what people are saying because each person may be perceiving an aspect of a larger item. Okay, or maybe describing a room that you really necessarily don't know, especially if the mission is to obtain data on something that is the unknown. You just don't know. Okay. So that was a message in the bottle. So with that here, so overall, that, or I should say, this concludes the main aspect of today's session. So are there any questions, comments? I'm going to go through the chat here and see if I see anything that I can answer. Any further question, comments, or concerns, please type them out in the chat room now. If there are any questions, comments, or concerns from anyone here in the live audience at the center, you're welcome to just open this door here and just say what you have a question or comment about. So let's see here. Okay, so greetings to everyone. Let's see. I'm looking at the comments here in the chat room. Okay. Okay. Tony, I wanted to see, let's see here. Tony, I wanted to see if I could get you to give this presentation in my private online community if possible. Can we have a conversation off air about it when time permits? Sure, Dre, just give us a call. Our phone number is 708-668-4909. Of course, you can go to the website. The numbers are there. And give us a call. All right, let's see here. The next question here is, so you can never really see through the eyes? Yes and no. It just was taking place. What we see through our eyes are lying to us, not because of the very nature of the eyes. It's just because it's an easy sense to fool. Okay, and if we go off of only what we see through the eyes, we could potentially, in many cases, be fooled. So just be aware of that. Question, can you remote view yourself as in your own future by setting several targets for specific points in your life and blindly? Is that too much front loading? It's too much front loading. Ideally, you will want a tasker to maybe potentially be involved with that, so that it can muddy the waters. Yes, it's possible. Yes, but the way that it has to be very controlled. Can you avoid front loading by having a friend choose your targets without you knowing? In this case of future potential, yes, but the tasker should be familiar with remote viewing, though. Okay, they should be highly familiar with it. So typically, think of it like a regular job kind of thing, right? Typically, a person who, let's say, is a fireman, right? They start off as, let's say, an engineer, right? And as they learn it over a period of years, then they start to have enough knowledge to be comfortably moved up to higher ranks, right? And that's how it is pretty much in most fields. It's very hierarchical. The fields here in the world, the way it works, right? You learn enough knowledge, and ideally, once you have enough knowledge, then you could potentially move on to higher levels, which will give you even more detailed knowledge and stuff like that, right? So it's the same thing we could say here with remote viewing. I would not just have a tasker that's not familiar with it at all. Okay, I would have a tasker that's highly familiar not only with remote viewing themselves, but then having enough knowledge to be able to present tasks that can potentially be perceived in a way that's beneficial to all, or for the mission, I should say. Okay. Going through the questions here. Anything else? Okay, question here. If we want to become more skilled in this, how do we go about doing it and making sure we're on the right track? Well, there are tons of reviewers out there. They do things a little bit different than the way we do things. Again, we've been doing this for a long time, and because of the way people are, we our results tend to be highly accurate by combining metaphysical theory with military, the way the military did, right? And so there are some books out there, none that I would personally necessarily recommend. So either you read those books, try to get this better at it naturally yourself, or with a place like the Medicine Center offers a course like this, or in-house training, you actually be involved. That's what I would say. Remote viewing does not need, you think this, you all, tongue twister here. Remote viewing does not need any form of weirdo kind of stuff added into it. Okay, it does not need a person's spiritual system added into it. It does not need religion added into it. It does not need any of that. Okay, so if that is somehow being added into it, I would move to a different place and learn from someone else, or a different organization. Okay, let's continue on here. Can we practice by remote viewing a deck of cards, even though there's a lot of front loading involved? That's more tapping into the psychic ability. But yes, you can potentially can if you registered for this class officially, right? So for those of you who actually paid for this course, I'm going to be emailing you some exercises that you can literally do. So don't worry about it, right? So those of you who actually supported the center, some of you may not have known you had this class today until you got that notification. For those who are, of course, supporters and who brought about this course, you are going to receive materials directly from me that will help you in your own personal process where you don't have to come to us. Okay, so just stay tuned to your email. You're going to receive that. And I thank all of you for that. All right. So, and if you're not a member and you, of course, enjoy what we do, you can become a member. I'll put the link in the chat here. It's our Patreon, the Medicine. Okay, on Patreon. Or you can just set up one directly, but you have to give us a call for that. You do get other benefits, like discount codes to the website. So discount codes to the website. Also, You get access to member-only events. You also get access to, of course, the farming, the fruits and vegetables kind of thing. You have to be a member for that and so forth. So there are a lot of benefits to becoming a member. Membership starts at $11 a month, so it's not much of it. Chuck asks here, is dreaming considered remote viewing? Dreaming itself is not considered remote viewing, but could you remote view while you're dreaming? Yes. Even though we want it to be more of an active act where you actually are awake and stuff like that, but you can remote view while dreaming, but dreaming itself is not remote. Derek asks, do you have private sessions? Yes, virtually and here at the center. Can you remote view by mistake unintentionally? Yes, people do it every day, all day. Again, perceiving a call before it happens, perceiving a future event before it happens. It could be psychic, but it could be remote viewing. It's a thin line between the two. Perceiving a future event, perceiving a secret place. Now, you may get this vision of this secret place. You might not know what the heck it is. You might not ever know what it is, but you actually remote view for whatever reason, remote viewed into a secret facility that's being built somewhere that you just didn't know. You may have remote viewed into a time in the past. A lot of people are from the antediluvian age, the pre-flood age, and just don't know it. And so many people have dreams, and we study this stuff. Many people have dreams that describe a time in the world that, because of course we are, you could say, we do research history in detail, and we do have books and things that are no longer in the public that authors described the world from before, okay, as a reference point to write things down so it's not forgotten, okay? And what they describe, many people have in their dreams still to this day. And they thinking it is thinking of something fanciful, or maybe from a movie that dealt with, let's say, a lush environment, let's say, or war. Let me tell you all what happened with Dr. Blair and I 2 years ago. Dr. Blair used to do some past life regression. And it was a woman that I was studying in one of the sessions here that when she was she was going through the state to do the session, she started to talk in a different language. This language is not something that Dr. Blair has ever heard, or myself. And she started to speak on things that are not here whatsoever. This was you could say an African American woman, a black woman, right? She did not speak no other language or anything like that, right? Yet she was speaking another language. That is a language. Again, it wasn't like Arabic or Hebrew or Latin. It was older than that. By the way, it sounded older. Like, of course, someone said, well, maybe the language of Jesus, right? Aramaic, right? So I actually went on YouTube at that time. That's the beauty of YouTube. I actually listened to people who spoke Aramaic. There are people who still today who speak Aramaic. It was not that. Okay, it was something else, right? And so these latent, maybe whether it's in the blood, whether we are simultaneously living multiple timelines at once, these things are tapped into, and it does happen. Again, past life stuff can get really out there. So, does an event need to have happened before it can be perceived? No. You can perceive so-called future events. Or can one precognitively perceive before it happens? Yes. What is the difference between remote viewing and dreaming of future situations? Remote viewing is an active, trainable path. Okay, dreaming is random, it's not controlled, and who knows what may be taking place. Could the remote viewer and the dream both perceive the same thing? Yes, but not necessarily at all. Most people's dreams are not controlled, they're all over the place. versus a remote viewing session, you're pretty much going, let's say, on missions to do a task. It's like saying, in a way, what's the difference between dreaming and walking down the street, going to the store to buy something? Well, you actually are actually doing it versus dreaming, which had you flying there and all of a sudden the world changed to something else and everything else, Uh, how can you block someone from remote viewing your current location or a remote location you're not in? There are ways. That's something that I'd rather not talk about here. So, but there are some very specific ways that a layman or a regular person can do to possibly defend their location. Again, that's something I'm not going to talk about here publicly. But it's very difficult because even governments have a hard time with that. So, question: would you please be my kind, sign up for the class and purchase a few items at the same time? Okay, so we'll talk about that after Ricky. All right, so you can see going through any of the questions here. Okay, question here: how do you block someone from access to your mind and thought? Okay, by guarding your mind overall. Okay, there are exercises that you can do. The Buddhist tradition, there's a lot of exercises that deal with that. The book that we have here at the center called Lessons, which you can get on the website, does have a chapter on that about guarding your mind. Okay, and that helps big time. Okay, so here. Can you take steps to avoid an event that you have perceived through remote viewing, or is it set in stone once it's viewed? Well, nothing here is necessarily in stone per se. Even like the way life is going in the world right now, people move as if that's just what it is, and that's what it'll be. But that's absolutely 100% not true. Any moment, anything could be different. That's why it's the energies around us are so aggressive to try to keep things in a very narrow path. Okay, because it can go outside of that path very easily, and it doesn't take much. But with that, avoiding an event will be more so like a psychic projection or perceiving something down the road versus remote viewing a location. A lot of times, more times than not, trying to perceive an event, future event would be more advanced types of remote viewing where one has done bona fide work and know again doesn't have the bias and can be neutral and everything else. Most of the time, you're remote viewing in the standard sense. You're viewing like locations, things, okay, not perceived future activity because the future can change in a way. But let's say perceiving a future or potential future facility, that's a little bit different, okay, versus the fluidity of the way the world and how things can change in the world. That's a little bit different. That's tapping into more of psychic senses. Yeah, remote viewing. Sade is called Lessons, Book One Lessons. Okay, Book One Lessons. If you go to the website, in the book category there, Book One Lessons. All right, let's see here. How to determine perception from memory when attempting to remote view. It's good to see you, brother. So, how to determine perception from memory when attempting to remote view. Um, I need that question wrote out a little bit differently. But overall, when you're remote viewing, you're not necessarily going off of memory. Okay, so you're going off a task. You're given a task, and you go on a mission to perceive that task. It's not based on your own memories. Right? Is there any other comments, questions, or concerns right now? If not, we're going to end the session for today. Is there any other questions, comments, or concerns for today? Again, a reminder to everyone who officially joins the course, you will receive information that will help you in your journey afterward. Emails can be sometime today, maybe tonight. Okay, but you are going to receive that. If there are any questions that come about from that, you can reply back to that email. And I may not answer that directly right then and there, but it's going to be collectively put into everybody else's question and things, and then I'm going to do a formal answer or send out you all some information at a later time. All right, so all right, any other questions, comments? Okay, so that's like it for today. So I appreciate everybody for joining in this session. I hope all of you enjoyed, no matter what platform you're on. Appreciate all of you all for the support in the different ways that you want to do it. Again, memberships are available. We have many different exciting projects coming about, and I hope to see many of you there. So any questions, comments, give us a call. Take care and talk soon.